Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Vinnicombe's Garage. Now, I might be sitting in the truck, but this is actually a Cutlass episode. I'm realizing that I'm actually not that great at talking about what I'm doing in these episodes, so you're going to have to sit here and listen to me for just a minute. When I bought the 72 Cutlass, there was actually a parts car there with it that the previous owner offered to me as well. And I figured I was pushing my luck buying one old car, so I opted to let the parts car stay where it was. Now, fast forward a few years, and Nick in his 20s started to realize that car parts are kind of expensive. So I reached out to the previous owner and asked if he still had the parts car. Luckily, he did, and he was generous enough to just give it to me. So I got to check off an item on my bucket list, which is write a to-do list on the fender of a car, and I got right to work grabbing some parts off the parts car. So I want all the trim off of it. I won't include the front bumper in that, that's a bigger job. I should have put up here clean. You'll see why I need to clean it in a minute. Dash, console, steering column, rear window, front suspension, the electric windows. So this is a nicer model of Cutlass, which means that it has some nice features like electric windows that I want to pull for mine. So I am going to take out the front windshield, obviously not to use it, but just to see if any of this metal underneath is any good, which I'm guessing not, but I'm an optimist. Look at how gross this is inside. But amazingly, the dash is still actually pretty good. There's one part off my list. Do a little walk around of the car so you can see how mangled it is. But there's actually a pretty decent amount of parts that I can pull off this thing, so I'm pretty happy with it overall. The back of it is really bad. Look at this. But it'll provide me some much needed parts for the yellow Cutlass. So it's gonna work great. Ballrooms, corner to corner, ear to ear, smile to drag me into a blissful beginning that ended quicker than I'd hoped. Thoughts of you moved me. Well, getting those seats out was way more frustrating than I thought it would be. So eventually I just shut the camera and asked for some help, and they are now out, but I'm going to try to work on a few of the less frustrating things, like pulling off some little bits of trim. Hey, what's going on? How come I'm up here in this little box? Well, I have a very exciting announcement. Vinnicombe's Garage officially has its first ever sponsor. So a huge thank you to Canadian Tire Godrich. They are now sponsoring the show. And let me tell you, you would be hard-pressed to find a tool in my shop that I did not buy at Canadian Tire. There have been many parts runs for both the Cutlass and the truck to Canadian Tire Godrich, and I am very excited to be welcoming them to the show as our very first sponsor. This month they wanted to highlight that they are now carrying the line of Chemical Guys products. Now when they told me about this stuff, I was pretty intrigued, so I went and bought these two with my own money, and I'm pretty impressed. The first thing I picked up was this bottle of Black Frost frost-fueled fragrance. I love this car, but it sits outside in the shop, and working in there sometimes, it's a little funky. Couple sprays of this, and I can get right back to work. I also picked up this interior quick detailer. Now I was gonna test this on all the coffee that I spilled in my Hyundai, but it's raining outside and I don't wanna get my camera wet. So I decided to try it out on my muddy ATV, and this cleaned it up really nice. So the next time you're in Canadian Tire Godrich and you're looking for some car cleaning products, definitely check out the Chemical Guys products that they now have. quite remember how long it's been since I've worked on the parts car, or even what I pulled off at last. The list that I drew on the fender has almost completely faded away, so that's got to be some indication that quite an amount of time has passed. I basically ended up deciding that any of the parts that I didn't take off of it that I kind of wanted are just going to be too much hassle for what it's worth. I think the last thing I really wanted off of it was the suspension, but the front of the car is so low to the ground that you can't really get a jack on it, and really I should probably replace the suspension components anyway that are on my car. But at the end of the day, I did get quite a few good parts off of it. I'm really happy with that front bumper. The one that was on my car, the chrome was peeling off, and surprisingly this one's pretty good. There's a handful of parts that I wanted to get off of it that I couldn't just because they weren't any good. But there was also quite a few parts that I wasn't expecting to be good. So all in all, I'm really happy with what I was able to get from the parts car here. But it's time to get it out of the yards. So I've got a truck coming to take it to a salvage yard soon, and that'll be it for the parts car episode.